Let's talk about something we've all faced at some point in our lives: heartbreak. Now, I want you to imagine this. You've just gone through a breakup. Your heart feels like it's been ripped out of your chest. You wake up in the morning feeling like you've lost your identity. You're questioning everything: your worth, your future, your ability to love again. And then you do the worst thing possible. You start chasing the past. You start obsessing over texts, checking their social media, playing old memories like a movie in your mind, hoping, wishing, aching for a different ending. Let me tell you something, my friend. That right there is the trap. That's the poison. Stop feeding the fantasy, and you can't heal what you're still idolizing. Let's cut through the noise right now. The worst thing you can do after a breakup, worse than crying, worse than feeling lost, worse than missing them, is feeding the fantasy. You know what I'm talking about. That edited highlight reel playing in your head like a romantic movie trailer, the way they smiled that one night on the beach, the good morning texts that used to make your heart race, that one time they held you and it felt like the world stopped. Stop. Because you're not just remembering love, you're worshiping a mirage. You're clinging to a version of the relationship that never truly existed in full. You're taking snapshots of the best moments and creating an illusion, a fantasy you keep falling in love with, even after it broke you. Let me ask you something real. If the relationship was so perfect, then why are you here trying to put yourself back together? That fantasy, it's not love, it's longing, and longing is dangerous because it's based on a half-truth, and any healing built on half-truths is a half-life. See the whole picture? You got to face it raw and real. Yes, there were good times. Yes, there was connection. But you have to zoom all the way out. Remember the silent treatments. Remember the nights you cried yourself to sleep. Remember feeling unseen, unheard, unloved. Remember when you were begging for crumbs and calling it a feast. This isn't about revenge or resentment. It's about reality. Because here's the truth. If you lie to yourself about the past, you chain yourself to it. You can't move forward holding a broken compass. You can't reclaim your future while romanticizing your prison. The danger of selective memory. The mind is sneaky, isn't it? After the breakup, your brain starts reaching for relief. And sometimes the easiest drug is nostalgia. But nostalgia is a liar. It'll tell you they were better than they were. It'll convince you that maybe you overreacted. It'll whisper, maybe they'll change. But listen to me closely. Your pain has a memory too. Don't silence it with fantasy. You are not here to be half-loved. You are not here to be tolerated, breadcrumbed, or broken in the name of my connection. Power statement. Let this be your mantra today. I will not edit the truth to comfort my loneliness. Say it, feel it, own it, rewire the loop every time you catch yourself replaying a sweet moment. Pause, balance it. For every memory of their affection, remind yourself of the moment they vanished when you needed them. For every compliment, remember the time they made you question your worth. You're not doing this to stay angry. You're doing it to stay awake. The shift, you don't miss them. You miss the potential you saw in them. You miss the idea of what it could have been, but guess what? You fell in love with a vision. They couldn't meet it. And that's not on you. So stop feeding the fantasy. Start feeding your truth. And that's the moment healing begins, not by erasing the past, but by refusing to rewrite it with lies. Stop making them the source of your worth. Let me ask you something real right now. When did you start believing that your value depends on how much someone else loves you? Because that's the trap. The silent killer after a breakup isn't the loss of the relationship, it's the belief that you're not enough without them. That belief, it's poison. You start measuring your self-worth based on how someone treated you, how quickly they moved on, whether they call, whether they watch your stories, whether they still care. Stop. You've got to reclaim your sense of intrinsic value. You were worthy the day you were born. You were powerful before they came along. And guess what? You're still powerful now. But here's what happens. You hand your crown to someone who didn't even know how to carry their own. You let them become the judge, the jury, and the executioner of your self-esteem. No more. Right now, this moment is about declaring emotional independence. You've got to stop outsourcing your worth. Stop checking your phone hoping for that text that will make you feel whole. Because listen to me, no one completes you. You complete you. When you make them the source of your confidence, your peace, your validation, you are renting your identity to someone who already broke the lease. This isn't about becoming bitter, it's about becoming better. Let this moment teach you to return to yourself. Not the version of you who is begging for crumbs of attention, but the real you, the powerful you, the grounded you, The you who doesn't need permission to shine. This is the breakthrough moment. You want to heal? You want to grow? You want to love again without fear? Then rebuild the most important relationship in your life, the one with you. You're not their ex. You're not their failure. You're not their regret. You are your own beginning, and this isn't the end. This is the chapter where you rise or break the addiction to their energy. I want you to hear me loud and clear. Heartbreak isn't just emotional. It's chemical. What you're feeling right now, that craving for them, that obsessive checking of their social media, that pull to reach out, to reconnect, to just talk, that's not love. That's withdrawal. And just like any addiction, it has to be broken intentionally. Because here's the truth, you didn't just fall in love with them, you got addicted to the cycle, addicted to the high of their approval, the chase when they pulled away, the validation when they gave you just enough to keep you hanging on. That's not intimacy, that's survival mode. Your nervous system got trained to crave chaos, to confuse inconsistency with passion, to chase the dopamine of being a chosen again and again. But here's what most people never tell you after a breakup. You're not just letting go of a person, you're detoxing from a pattern. You may miss them, but what you really miss is the feeling of mattering. You miss the illusion of safety. You miss the hit of maybe this time they'll show up. And you've got to break that pattern right now. How do you do that? You start by going cold turkey on their energy. You stop looking for them in every quote you read online. You stop assigning meaning to every little thing they do. You stop giving them real estate in your mind when they've already moved out. You reclaim your nervous system. You reclaim your identity. You reclaim your life. Because every time you reach out and just to check on them, you're really abandoning yourself. Every time you stalk their stories, you're reopening a wound that's trying to close. Every time you fantasize about them changing, you're delaying your transformation. This is your healing, not theirs, yours. And the truth is, you don't just want to move on, you want to evolve. You want to become so emotionally self-sourced that no one, not even the ghost of them, can shake your peace. So here's the commitment. No more hits. No more looking for them in songs, in signs, in strangers. No more replaying the highlight reel and forgetting the pain. Because the moment you stop craving their energy is the moment you begin reclaiming your power. And that power, it's the foundation for everything that comes next. Rewrite your identity. You are not who you were with them. Listen to me, really hear this. You are not just healing from a breakup. You are rebuilding your identity. Because here's what happens in most relationships, especially toxic, one-sided, or emotionally manipulative ones. You start to shrink. Little by little, piece by piece, you become who they needed you to be, not who you truly are. You silence your voice so they can feel loud. You downplay your needs so they don't feel burdened. You let go of your boundaries so the relationship can work. Or you lost yourself, and now that they're gone, you don't just feel heartbreak, you feel disoriented. Who are you without them? Let me tell you something powerful. You are the author of who you become next. Not them. Not the version of you that begged to be loved. Not the you that walked on eggshells. Not the one that kept trying to prove your worth. You, right now, have the pen in your hand. And this step, it's about rewriting the narrative of your life. You stop saying, I don't know who I am without them. And start saying, I'm discovering the parts of me they never got to see. You stop defining yourself by the person who couldn't love you. And start connecting with the version of you that never stopped loving deeply, even in the face of rejection. That version of you, that fierce, wild, loving soul is still alive. They just got buried beneath the fear, the self-doubt, and the pressure to be enough for someone who couldn't see your value. And now you get to decide who you are without their shadow. Do you know what's dangerous about this moment? You're free. And that kind of freedom, it can feel terrifying because it means you're no longer defined by them. But it's also sacred. Because freedom is the soil where your new identity can grow. So here's what I want you to do today. Something that shifts you from pain to power, write a new identity statement. Or something like, I am not someone who was left. I am someone who outgrew a container too small for my soul. Or, I am not broken. I am rebuilding, stronger, wiser, unshakable, or even, and I will never again dim my light for someone who couldn't handle the fire. Because your identity is no longer tied to being chosen. It's tied to choosing yourself. This isn't just post-breakup advice. This is rebirth. From this moment forward, you're no longer seeking closure from them. You're giving yourself permission to create something entirely new. Not a version of you that proves anything to anyone, but a version of you that's so full of self-worth. The next time love arrives, it has to rise to meet you. Or stop waiting for closure. Choose completion. I want you to burn this into your mind. Closure is a lie when you're waiting for it to come from someone else. That person who ghosted you, the one who breadcrumbed, manipulated, cheated, or just drifted away without a word, they're not coming back with an explanation wrapped in a bow. And even if they did, it wouldn't give you peace. Because closure isn't a gift someone gives you, it's a decision you make. Let's break this down. How many people do you know, maybe it's you, who spend months, even years, replaying the last conversation? They're wondering, why did they say that? When they ever really loved me, was it my fault? What if I just said this instead? You loop it over and over again, like somehow obsessing over the pain will eventually unlock the answer and let you go. But let me hit you with the truth. You're not stuck because they left. You're stuck because you're still waiting for them to validate your pain. You're waiting for them to say, you were right, I messed up, you deserve better. But they won't. Why? Because if they had the emotional intelligence to give you real closure, they likely wouldn't have hurt you the way they did in the first place. So what do? We stop asking for closure, and we give ourselves something more powerful: completion. Or completion doesn't mean pretending it didn't hurt. Completion means this ends here. You can complete it without the apology. You can complete it without understanding all the reasons. You can complete it even while it still stings a little. Because completion is you deciding, I will not lose one more day of my life waiting for someone who didn't value it to begin with. This is the moment you stop checking their social media, stop stalking their stories, stop rereading old texts, stop looking for signs from the universe that they'll come back. They're not your destiny, they were your detour. And maybe that detour broke you for a while, but maybe it also led you here, to a version of you that's done begging for clarity and ready to create certainty. So here's your challenge today. Write a letter, not to send, but to release. Write it as if you could say everything you never said. The anger, the sadness, the betrayal, the truth, and then burn it. Rip it up. Delete it. Let it go. Because that letter isn't for them, it's for you. It's a line in the sand. It's you saying, this chapter is closed. Not because they gave me closure, but because I gave myself the final word. You want real power? Give yourself the ending they never could. Not because you're bitter, but because you're finally choosing better. Turn your pain into power. This is the pivot point. This is the shift. This is where we stop surviving and we start rising. Listen to me closely. The pain you went through is not your prison, it's your permission. Permission to evolve. Permission to rewrite the story. Permission to build a life so powerful that the old you, the one who begged, who cried, who stayed too long, wouldn't even recognize the new version you're becoming. But here's the key. Pain alone doesn't make you powerful. It's what you do with the pain that decides who you become. Let me ask you something right now, and don't just hear this, feel it. Are you using the pain to grow, or letting it keep you stuck? Because there are only two things you can do with pain. One, recycle it. You replay the hurt. You talk about it nonstop. You date someone new, but compare them to the one who left. You keep proving to yourself that love always ends in betrayal. That's recycling pain into suffering. You're not moving forward, you're just looping. Two, reinvent through it. You extract the lesson. You build strength in the broken pieces. You turn heartbreak into fuel. You stop trying to be who you were with them and start becoming who you were meant to be without them. And that is how pain becomes power. Let me show you how this looks in real life. That person who was abandoned becomes the one who builds a community. That woman who was gaslit becomes a truth teller, a boundary setter, a force. That man who was cheated on becomes someone who honors commitment to himself first. That single mom who got left holding everything becomes the leader of a legacy. Do you feel that shift? This isn't about proving them wrong. This isn't about showing them what they lost. This is about showing you what you gained. You gained resilience. You gained clarity. You gained a new standard. And now it's time to get strategic. Ask yourself, what did I learn about myself from that pain? What pattern did I finally wake up to? What truth did I ignore that I'll never ignore again? Who am I becoming because of this? Because the truth is this, the worst chapter of your life can become the best foundation for your future if you choose to build instead of break. And let me be real with you, that breakup, that wasn't the end. It was the initiation, the beginning of the version of you that's no longer asking for love, but embodying it, no longer waiting for life to give you a handout, but building your own kingdom with both hands. This is you rising. This is you waking up. And don't let anyone fool you into thinking healing means you have to be soft. Sometimes healing looks like fire. Sometimes healing looks like rebirth. You don't have to go back to who you were. You get to become who you were always meant to be. You ready? We talk about setting standards so high that no one who ever devalued you could even reach your frequency again. Let's go build the new rules of your life. Design a life they would never fit into. Now, I want you to hear me loud and clear. You're not just healing from a breakup. You're upgrading your entire identity. Most people stop at getting over them. That's basic. But you're not here to be basic. You're here to build a life so full of joy, so rich in purpose, so anchored in your truth, that even you look back and say, thank God it ended. Because if it didn't, I would have never met this version of myself. Let me ask you something from the gut, deep, no filters. Would the life you're building today intimidate the version of you that begged them to stay? Because that's the goal. You don't just move on from them. You outgrow the entire version of you that tolerated less, settled for crumbs, and called it love. Here's what this looks like. You stop designing your life around being a chosen and start building it around your calling. Or you stop trying to be perfect for them and start becoming authentic for you. You stop wondering what they think of you and start asking, what do I think of me? That's freedom. That's power. That's real closure. Not a text, not an apology, not them waking up and finally realizing what they lost. You become the closure, the way you walk now, the way you speak your boundaries, the way you light up without needing anyone's permission. That's your revenge. And it's not even about revenge, it's about the rebirth. Now listen closely, there are going to be moments. Moments where loneliness creeps in, where you wonder if it's worth it, where your old self tries to make a comeback. That's the test. That's the moment the universe says, let's see if you really want this new life, or if you're just flirting with transformation. So what do? You keep building. You show up for your goals on the days no one's watching. You love yourself so fiercely that any half-love becomes laughable. You pursue the dream that your ex never supported and you crush it. Because here's the truth most people avoid. You don't find your purpose in a partner. You find it when you're finally alone long enough to hear your own soul speak. This is the you that you were always meant to meet. And let me tell you something raw. If they walked away from you while you were still soft, still giving, still loyal, they won't know how to handle this next version. This version has a vision. This version walks in alignment. This version isn't waiting to be loved, they are love. And that's the most dangerous thing you can become to anyone who once underestimated you. A healed, whole, awakened soul, with nothing left to prove and everything to live for. You ready for what's next? We reclaim your heart, not just from the person who left, but from every wound, every trauma, every lie that told you that you weren't enough. Reclaim your heart. On your terms, this step isn't about them. This isn't about proving you're over it. This isn't about showing the world that you're okay. This is about reclaiming your heart, not as a weapon, or not as a wall, but as a sacred space. Because here's the truth. Breakups don't just leave you single. They can leave you spiritually fragmented if you don't do the work. They convince you to guard your heart so tightly that even you can't access it anymore. But you can't build a powerful life from behind armor. You can't create connection from a place of self-protection. So now it's time to come home to yourself. It's time to sit with the parts of your heart you've abandoned. The moments where you gave love and didn't receive it. The times you felt invisible, unworthy, not enough. Or feel that. Don't bypass it. Don't numb it. Witness it. Because pain that is ignored gets passed on. But pain that is acknowledged, it becomes power. This is where the true healing begins, when you stop shaming your younger self for wanting love. When you stop regretting how deeply you cared. When you realize that your capacity to love deeply was never the weakness, it was your superpower. But now you get to be wiser with it. You get to love without losing yourself. You get to give without draining, to feel without folding, to trust without abandoning your own voice. That's next level love. And you don't wait for someone to come give it to you, or you become it. You become the space you were always searching for in someone else. Let's take a breath right here. Let this sink in. You don't need closure. You don't need their apology. You don't need validation from the same person who didn't see your worth the first time. You need you. The most powerful love story of your life begins the moment you stop begging others to choose you and start choosing yourself. So let's make a commitment right now from this moment forward. You don't chase people, you attract through alignment. You don't shrink to fit. You expand to match your vision. You don't guard your heart out of fear. You honor it with discernment. This is the sacred return, the return to truth, to clarity, to love that begins with you, flows through you, and eventually, when the time is right, find someone who's actually capable of holding it. But whether they come or not, you're already whole. And in step 10, we're going to elevate. We're not just going to heal your heart, we're going to set it on fire with purpose. You're not here to just get over someone, you're here to rise into the person they were never built to walk beside. Build a life so big they can't even recognize you. Let me be crystal clear with you. The worst thing you can do after a breakup isn't crying. It's not feeling lost, it's not even missing them. The worst thing you can do is stay the same. To walk through the fire and come out untransformed, that's the real tragedy. You didn't survive all that just to end up bitter, smaller, guarded, or jaded. No, you came through hell, so now it's time to rise. And not in some revenge fantasy, not in some, I'll show them mentality. That's still about them. This final step is about you stepping into the life that was waiting for you the moment they let go. You want closure? Build a life so aligned, so purpose-driven, so full of power and joy that you don't even have the emotional bandwidth to miss what you lost. Not because you suppressed it, not because you shoved it under the rug, but because you outgrew it. Growth is the ultimate closure. Let's break it down. How do you build a life that big? 1, decide who you want to become. Most people never ask this. They just react to life. But the most powerful people in the world, they don't live in reaction, they live in creation. So don't ask, Touch, how do I move on? Ask, who am I now that I'm no longer tied to someone who couldn't love me fully? That's the question that changes everything. 2, go all in on your growth. Learn new skills. Start the business. Hit the gym. Build new friendships. Heal your inner child. Rewire your nervous system. Hire the coach. Read the books. Don't just move on, move up. 3, stop making your future pay for your past. Just because they couldn't love you doesn't mean the next person won't. Just because you gave your all and it wasn't enough for them doesn't mean it won't be sacred to someone else. You are not your trauma. You are not their rejection. You are not unlovable. You're untapped potential. You're a masterpiece in motion. You're a force that was temporarily caged but never broken. And now you unleash. Let them wonder what happened to you. Let them scroll through your life and feel the weight of your absence. Not because you want them back, but because your presence has evolved into something they never had the capacity to hold. You don't rise to prove them wrong. You rise because it's who you were always meant to be. Let them have the past. You take the future. So here's your challenge right now in this very moment. Make a vow to yourself, out loud if you have to. Say, I am no longer available for anything that costs me my peace, my power, or my purpose. Because from this moment forward, you love yourself without apology. You trust your intuition without question. You walk like someone who finally knows what they deserve and is no longer afraid to demand it. You're not just moving on. You're ascending. And guess what? This isn't the end of a love story. This is the beginning of a legacy. The final word, TS, is where you rise, so here we are. The final step. The moment when everything changes. You came into this with pain in your chest, questions in your head, and maybe a storm in your heart. But now you leave with power in your bones. Because you didn't just get a roadmap out of heartbreak, you got a blueprint for becoming unbreakable. This wasn't just about letting go of a person, it was about letting go of the version of you that tolerated less. The version that stayed quiet when you should have roared. The version that kept shrinking to fit in someone else's shadow. That version, gone, dead and buried. You've got scars now, and that's a good thing. Because scars mean you survived. Scars mean you're battle-tested. Scars mean you know your worth because you paid the price to reclaim it. And now you own your future. You stop chasing closure. You become the closure. You stop needing validation. You embody value. You stop begging for love. You radiate it. You stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start declaring, it happened for me. To wake me up, to shake me, to break the version of me that was too afraid to rise. And now you walk forward with a new level of self-respect. You're not the one who was left behind anymore. You're the one who outgrew what couldn't grow with you. And if they ever circle back, if the past comes knocking, let them see who you've become. Let them meet the version of you who won't even flinch. The version who doesn't crave closure because they've created peace. So here's what I want you to remember forever. You're not broken. You're being rebuilt, not discarded, redesigned, not lost, unleashed. And the next time you're tempted to shrink yourself, to chase someone who doesn't see you, to doubt your own voice, or stop. Stand tall and say it out loud, and I will never again give my power to someone who couldn't hold my heart. Because you're not just healing, you're rising, you're thriving, you're becoming legendary. Now go. Not to forget them, but to remember you. This is your time. Let's build the rest of your life like it's the greatest comeback story ever told. Because it is. And it starts right now.